Hello, everybody, and welcome to We Are Marvel, the podcast where we talk all things Marvel Cinematic Universe. I am one of your hosts. My name is Justin.
My name is Jeremy.
Welcome to our very first episode.
Yeah, we really want to say thank you for joining us, giving us a try if this is your first episode.
No, it's ours.
Ours. Yeah. Yeah. We're excited to jump into this. This is not our first ever podcast together. If you didn't listen to the intro episode, you can get a little bit of our history by listening there. But we have done a podcast together before, and we're excited to do another one, a little more focused podcast.
Yeah. Last time it was a little scattershot, and we did, we talked Doctor Who and Star Wars and all the other cool stuff. But,
yeah,
our main love, I think the thing that brought us together as podcasters anyway, because we've been friends long before the MCU existed.
Yes.
Believe it or not, was Marvel. The MCU, or Marvel Cinematic Universe, is, we'll be referring to it as the MCU in case you didn't know.
Yes.
That it's the thing that brought us together and made us really want to start podcasting in the first place. So now it's really nice to actually just be able to talk this all the time.
Yeah, and just focus on it and not have to worry about, what should we do that's different than what we did last episode. With this, it's let's talk more Marvel. Let's focus on more Marvel stuff. And
I know
I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like every time, because we used to do news, and I don't know if we're going to do that in this show or not, but, every time there was Marvel stuff, like that was the thing I wanted to talk about the entire episode, but then we had our topic and we had to talk about that instead. So now we get to do this all the time. I meant to bring this up in our intro episode, but essentially what we're going to be doing here, we're going to break down the movies one by one, but we're going to space it out so we don't blow through them all in a year and change, and have, different random topics. I don't know if you have the list of our season breakdown.
No, I was not prepared for that.
That's okay. I got it right here. I mean, we're going to talk about, our favorite casting, pitches for sequels that never happened.
Yeah.
Let's see. We're going to talk about, like, if the heroes went bad, what might happen then. We're going to, rank and overview the different phases. I've got the first two phases, the box sets that they came out with. And so when we end each phase, the hope is we're going to crack into those and kind of delve into the goodies that were in there.
Yeah.
So we got a lot of stuff planned. We planned out like a year of episodes already.
Yeah. So this first episode is focused on Iron Man, but we're, like Justin said, we're going to try and spread it out so it's not, every episode is a movie. It's a different topic, but it is still going to be Marvel Cinematic Universe focused.
Right.
So, yeah, if you're into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, this is the place to be. We're going to be talking all about it.
Because we're both fairly learned. I've watched the movies like on a weekly basis. I just can't help myself.
Yeah, I believe it.
And as of recording this, we're literally hours away from the debut of the first entry into Phase 4, the first two episodes of WandaVision on Disney+.
That's right. They come out tomorrow, so you know what time when we recorded this.
Heck yeah.
It's going to go down in the history books.
As 2 weeks ago. But so we got a lot to cover here, so let's stop prattling on and delve into 2008's Iron Man. After being held captive in an Afghan cave, billionaire engineer Tony Stark creates a unique weaponized suit of armor to fight evil. Boom.
Yeah, I ended up rewatching this yesterday. I wanted to have it nice and fresh in my mind.
Yeah, me too.
And now I'm blanking on his name, but the guy he was captured with,
Jensen?
Yes, Jensen. That's right. I was thinking, if it wasn't for him and kind of obviously saving his life, if it wasn't for him saving his life, we wouldn't have this and Tony and anything. But I think if it wasn't for him, kind of the way he saved his life was with the big magnet. It's not an arc reactor at the time, but yeah, the big magnet in his chest, and that kind of clicking for Tony on how to upgrade it And then, and so on. And it keep clicking and building from there. Like, if it wasn't for Jensen, there'd be no Tony. There'd be no Iron Man.
Mm-hmm. There'd be no Avengers.
There'd be no Avengers. You're right.
Or the things of Avengers would have turned out very differently because Iron Man wouldn't have been there.
True. You're right. Because, as we'll get into later, and I'm sure everyone knows, but as we'll get into later,
Thor and Loki still have their tiff.
Yeah.
Whether Iron Man's there or not.
Yeah.
I
thought that was cool that Jensen was a big part of that.
Yeah. This was directed by Jon Favreau, screenplay by Mark Fergus, Hawk Ostby, Art Markham, and Matt Holloway. Stars Robert Downey Jr., Terrence Howard, Jeff Bridges, Gwyneth Paltrow, Jon Favreau, Clark Gregg, and, very briefly, Paul Bettany.
Yes. Now, I have a question for you, and I'm not sure if you know the answer, but when Paul Bettany was doing this voice as Jarvis, was he planned to be more than that in the cinematic universe?
So everything that I've seen in like interviews with Joss Whedon is when he was talking about the first Avengers movie and his excitement for it, he was like, if you ever do a sequel, you should do Ultron, and then you can do Vision, and you can have Ultron put Jarvis into Vision because Paul Bettany is the best person to play Vision. He said it a little differently, but that's more or less what he said.
Okay. I think that's kind of the answer then, yeah. So it wasn't planned that far in advance for him to be Vision.
No, I mean, not by Iron Man 1, but I would say by the time we got into Avengers territory and Joss Whedon entering the picture, which was around Thor and Captain America 1.
Okay.
It was, at least an inkling in the back of everyone's mind.
Yeah. Cool.
This released April 14th, 2008. Sorry, wow. In Sydney, and May 2nd, 2008 in the U.S. The budget was $140 million, and the box office was $585.3 million.
Nice. Which is, still good numbers, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, and that's, I don't know if I go into this later on in my notes, but the thing that people don't realize, because now Marvel and Marvel Studios is just a household name. It's Disney. Yeah. It's, it's huge, like everything else Disney touches. But when this started, Marvel Studios was an independent film company.
Right.
They took out loans to make the first Iron Man and the Incredible Hulk, and if either of if those had failed, Marvel Studios would not be here now.
Yeah.
And Disney wouldn't have gotten interested, invested, and brought it up to where it is now.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy to think that how big this ended up being, like how important really it was. Yeah. Kind of with hindsight, like this was huge.
Yeah, and when they were planning this, because everyone knows Hulk and very few people know Iron Man.
Oh yeah.
At least back in 2008, he was a B C-lister that nobody except for comic book fans knew who he was.
Right.
And
yeah.
Even Robert Downey Jr. at the time was a risk. He's a huge star now, but back then he was still, making his comeback from his fall from grace.
Yeah.
So,
and even if you were to at the time look up Iron Man and you just see the old kind of comic book pictures of him, it's like that doesn't look like it's going to be a cool character.
Well, yeah, I remember seeing it the first time I saw the trailer for this. Really, I wasn't too sure about it.
Yeah,
I was like, we watched all those comic book movies back in the day, but. It was like, really, Iron Man? This is this is where we're at in the barrel that we're digging in. That we're doing Iron Man, okay.
Right.
And then I saw it, and then I literally saw this movie in theaters 8 times.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
did we go together? Or did we just?
I went 8 times, so I saw it with a lot.
I know.
Of
people. I remember us, of course, talking about it, but I don't know if we actually ended up going together or not.
I don't know.
We'll just say we did. It sounds better in the show.
Yeah, of course. We went to every single one together, and we still do and always will.
Yes, perfect.
Let's get into some history here.
Yeah.
In April 1990, Universal Studios bought the rights to develop Iron Man for the big screen, with Stuart Gordon to direct a low-budget film based on the property. By February 96, 20th Century Fox had acquired the rights from Universal. In January 1997, good old Nicolas Cage, who's rumored for every superhero that ever existed, expressed interest in portraying the character, while in September of 98, Tom Cruise expressed interest in producing as well as starring as Iron Man. And I remember reading an old Wizard magazine where the rumors were it was going to be Tom Cruise.
Really?
Yeah. That was the news before everything happened.
I don't see it kind of being the same. But that's how it is. You think Iron Man, you think Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
That's the only person I can see playing him.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't. I mean, it could have worked, but
I'm glad.
I think looking back now, exactly. Yeah. I don't think it would have been the same.
Jeff Vintar and Iron Man co-creator Stan Lee co-wrote a story for Fox, which Vintar adapted into a screenplay, and included a new science fiction origin for the character and featured MODOK as the villain. Character we still have not seen.
Yes.
They are
rumors that we may, though.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, yeah, and they're doing that animated series on Hulu with Patton Oswalt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
they released a trailer, I think, at Comic-Con. To look pretty funny.
All right. I like Patton.
Yeah.
He's a good guy.
That October, Quentin Tarantino was approached to write and direct the film.
I'm a huge fan of Quentin Tarantino.
Me too.
But I don't see it working.
No. Like, there was a time where he was talking about doing Luke Cage, which I could totally see.
Okay.
Yeah. But Iron Man, not so much. Fox sold the rights to New Line Cinema the following December, reasoning that although the Vintar Lee script was strong, the studio had too many Marvel superheroes in development and, quote, we can't make them all. And they didn't.
Yeah, well, Kevin Feige said, hold my beer.
We'll make them all.
I'll show you we can.
We're not even there yet. By July 2000, the film was being written for New Line by Ted Elliott, Terry Rossio, and Tim McCandless. McCandless's script used the idea of a Nick Fury cameo to set up his own film. In June 2001, New Line entered talks with Joss Whedon, a fan of the character, to direct, and in December 2002, McCandless had turned in a completed script. New Line took a unique approach to writing the film's script, hiring David Goyer, who writes everything, Mark Protozovich, to sit in a room and simply talk on camera about Iron Man for a few days. We're
not getting paid to do it, and we're doing that.
I know. I'll do this all day long. If you want to pay us, that'd be wonderful. Yeah. Sponsors, hit us up.
That's right.
After this, Hader was hired in 2004 to write a script. He reworked scripts that had been written by Vintar and Alfred Goff and Miles Millar, which had included the villain the Mandarin and Pepper Potts as a love interest. Hader removed the Mandarin and instead chose to pit Iron Man against his father Howard Stark, who becomes War Machine. Dumb.
Yeah. I was gonna go with interesting idea, but yeah, you're right.
I don't remember if Howard is dead in the comics, or I'm sure he is by now, but I don't remember if he was around in the original books or not.
Okay.
But anyway,
I would say if he was, it'd probably be in a smaller role of just he's obviously his dad, and I don't know, maybe runs a business.
Mm-hmm. But as an evil war machine,
yeah, I doubt it.
Yeah. In December 2004, the studio attached director Nick Cassavetes to the project for a target 2006 release. However, this deal ultimately fell through, and Iron Man's film rights returned to Marvel.
Whew.
And it begins.
Yes, that was a close one.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, a lot of these characters were owned by different companies, a lot of them by New Line and Universal, and over the years, when they couldn't get things to come together. I mean, I remember... Again, going back to Wizard Magazine, they would do like fan casting, and they had like Matt Damon as Captain America.
Okay.
Which is, I love the way it turned out, so I can't really see it, but I mean, it's all the different ways that this could have happened.
Yeah.
It's just insane.
It is. It's fascinating that, a lot of these characters are just, the actors that play them are the perfect one.
Mm-hmm.
and thinking if, someone brings up, oh, well, so-and-so could have played them, or it's like, no, I don't think they can. Because we now know them, But, Matt Damon's a great actor. I'm sure he would have done a fine job.
I mean, he showed up in Ragnarok.
Yeah, that's true. He did. I forgot.
Well, I mean, even going back to as our next movie, which will be in a couple weeks, Incredible Hulk, Edward Norton as Hulk, I mean, he is great, but it's Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah, it is.
It's just the way it is.
Yeah, I'm sorry. No offense.
Tough shit. In November 2005, Marvel Studios worked to start development from scratch and announced Iron Man as their first independent feature because the character was their only major one not already depicted in live action. According to associate producer Jeremy Latcham, quote, "We went after about 30 writers and they all passed, saying they were uninterested in the project due to both the relative obscurity of the character and the fact that it was solely a Marvel production."
I mean, that's fair. They are not wrong. No. It is an obscure character at the time, and yeah, it's like you mentioned, I think at the beginning of this episode, that they're an independent company. Like they have nothing going for them. Why would a writer that's trying to go somewhere want to work with them? So I mean, I understand it, but it's just funny looking at it now. It's like, how many of you are just kicking yourselves,
banging down the doors like, you gave me a chance once, can I come back?
Yeah, right. I am curious how many they might have reached back out to and said, you want to write now? I'm like, yes, please.
You can put me in a pit with a bunch of other writers. We'll hammer stuff out. It's good. Just get my name on there, please.
Right, yeah.
Jon Favreau was hired to direct the film in April of 2006, citing inspiration from Tom Clancy, James Bond, RoboCop, and compared his approach to an independent film. Favreau wanted to make Iron Man a story of an adult man literally reinventing himself after discovering the world is far more complex than he originally believed.
Yes, that is the feel I get from it. It's definitely he reinvents himself after, I wouldn't say after discovering the world is more complex than me, but maybe what the fact he thinks his company is doing.
Yeah, I guess that would be the more complex, is that, he thought we made weapons, we sold them to the the U.S. government, and they used them to fight terrorism. Turns out we sold them to the terrorists too.
Yeah.
Well, and even Jon Favreau, I mean, at this point he had made like Elf and Zathura, which was a big, deuce and a half.
Yeah.
Elf is great, and is a modern classic now. And, of course, he's gone on to Mandalorian, Jungle Book, and, he's a Disney man now. But, this is insane. He changed the Vietnam origin of the character to Afghanistan, as he did not want to do a period piece. Art Markram and Matt Holloway were hired to write the script, while Mark Fergus and Hawk Osby wrote another version, with Favreau compiling both teams' scripts and John August then polishing the combined version. Whew. Comic book staff, Mark Millar, Brian Michael Bendis, Joe Quesada, Tom Brevoort, I don't know that one, Axel Alonso, and Ralph Macchio were also called upon by Favreau to give advice on the script.
Now, is this the same Ralph Macchio? That's Ralph Macchio?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if he ever did comics. I don't think so.
Yeah, okay. This must be a coincidence kind of thing.
That would, yeah. Have him do more karate. I think there's just not enough karate in Iron Man.
Yeah. They go around table and good ideas. Get to Ralph. Now, is there any way we can put in some karate?
Get a high kick in there. A real nice, good high kick. I think that would really help sell this. Well, and this team helped guide the MCU for several years, to the point where they were almost becoming a hindrance, and Kevin Feige booted them all out because they were, screwing up the works and trying to do too many things different than, the master planner, Kevin Feige.
Right. I obviously it's worked out for the best, it seems like. I mean, it's tough to say, oh, well, you could have done better. I mean, they've Could they? I don't think so.
You could have added another $500 million to that $2.5 billion. Just saying.
Right, yeah.
Favreau faced opposition from Marvel in casting Downey, but would not take no for an answer, saying, quote, "It was my job as a director to show that it was the best choice creatively. Everybody knew he was talented, and certainly by studying the Iron Man role and developing the script, I realized that the characters seemed to line up with Robert in all the good and bad ways."
Yeah.
He is Iron Man. Even before he was Iron Man, he was Iron Man.
Yeah. Yeah. He went so low and just kind of in the pit, and he then rose back up. I mean, he noticed that his life wasn't going where it should be, and he turned it around.
Yeah.
And
it's because of this
look at him
role.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, now he's Sherlock and Dr. Dolittle, even though I'm sure he wants to forget that.
Yeah.
But I love his Sherlock.
Yeah. It's great.
Yeah.
I would very much enjoy another one.
They're saying they're going to. It's just a matter of when.
I think they've been saying that for years.
Yeah, I know.
But you're right. It could happen.
It better. Production was based on the former Hughes Company soundstage in Playa Vista, Los Angeles, California. The filmmakers acknowledged the coincidence that they would film Iron Man creating the Flying Mark III, where the Hughes H-4 Hercules was built. And, I mean, he's such a... I've lost his frickin' name. The character of Tony Stark is so much like Howard Hughes. I mean, it's essentially who he's based off of.
Okay.
So
it makes sense.
Yeah.
Like saying that, it makes perfect sense. That, yeah, it's kind of super extravagant flyboy, I guess, if you will. Yeah.
Filming began on March 12, 2007, and concluded June 25th, 2007 at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas, Nevada. So basically, they shot the beginning at the end.
Yes. Yeah.
Which happens.
It's so, which is so weird when you start to actually think about how they shoot movies. Mm-hmm. It's like this scene right here could have been shot whenever. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. And yeah, there's different reasons for doing it. But it's just it's fascinating kind of seeing that behind the scenes almost stuff where they might have it might look like they have a different chemistry because they filmed that later on. Yeah. But it's at the beginning of the movie, and yeah. It's
up to a lot of different people to make sure it seems seamless.
Yes. Yeah. And it works.
Yeah. The Nick Fury cameo was filmed with a skeleton crew in order to keep it a secret, but rumors appeared on the internet only days later. Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige subsequently had the scene removed from all preview prints in order to maintain the surprise and keep fans guessing. An alternate version of the Nick Fury post-credits scene was filmed, in which he specifically said, quote, "As if gamma accidents, radioactive bugs, and assorted mutants weren't enough." Referencing funny. Hulk, Spider-Man, and the X-Men. But this was cut due to legal problems with Sony and Fox, who at the time had full ownership of the characters until the reacquisition much later in like 3 years ago.
Yeah. Another thing where it's funny, it's like, well, I mean, do we still have that? Can we throw it in now? Because now it works. Like,
yeah.
I don't see Sony suing over that now. I mean, there is a radioactive bug pretty much in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah.
Not solely, but yeah.
No, but good enough.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think of how things have changed.
I know, yeah.
And now
looking back at this, and
I can't wait for us to do an episode on all the things that could happen soon, because even just the stuff they've announced is just every time I think I've seen all that they can show me, they show me something else. Is like, I had no idea you'd do that, and I love it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this. This will hold me over.
Well, when they did the Investor Day meeting back in December, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm excited for it. Of course, anything Marvel, sure, great. But I was like, what are they gonna? They just had announced like 5 different shows for Disney Plus and all the different things. Like, what are they gonna give me that I don't already know that's coming that I care about, especially with the COVID of it all? And then they drop Armor Wars and Ironheart and Fantastic Four done by John Watts, and it's just like, you Crafty sons of bitches. I'm so excited for John Watts' Fantastic Four, I can barely contain myself.
Okay.
Like, this is I don't know if you can see on my thing, but this is my background right now.
Nice, yeah.
Which is a retro Fantastic Four done by John Cho.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah,
you're always changing those backgrounds. I like that you do that.
I keep it topical. My lock screen is a John Cho Green Lantern.
Of course.
But that's not relevant here.
No. Watch your mouth. I'll bleep that out. Don't worry, everyone.
John Cho beep. All right. That's it for the production. Lots of interesting stuff in there. Let's, without any further ado, get into this awesome movie.
Yes. Let's do it.
I thought you were going to say something. Even with us looking at each other, we're still going to have awkward pauses.
Yeah, I'll do my best to eliminate them in post, but...
one so far isn't too bad.
Yeah. Especially, like as we mentioned before, after a 2-year hiatus, that's not bad at all. Now the remainder of the episode is just going to be us. Oh, I thought you were going to talk.
Sorry, I thought you were saying something.
Oh, sorry.
I was going to say something. I didn't say anything.
We jinxed ourselves.
I remember,
like you said, let's jump into it.
The first time seeing this, the first of 8 times, of course, just seeing the Marvel Studios logo for the first time and getting excited.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we saw the Marvel with the flip cover, comic things going, is pretty much what a lot of the Marvel movies had done before then. We'd seen the Marvel logo in the X-Men and Fantastic Four and all those god-awful other movies. They're not all bad, but a lot of them are.
They're not. Yeah.
But just saying the word Marvel and then the appearance of studios, like, just sent a shiver down my spine the first time I saw it.
That's cool. I mean, it didn't. Unfortunately, it didn't do the same for me. I didn't realize the significance of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I understand it. And now it's like, oh well, yeah, it's Marvel Studios.
Yeah.
Like,
it's Apple Pie in baseball. Like, come on.
But yeah, I could see as big of a comic fan as you've always been. I could see that being just a huge kind of moment for you.
Well, yeah,
That's
I mean,
cool.
it's the opportunities, and I think that's the thing that still keeps me excited 12, 13 years later.
Mm-hmm.
They've done 23 movies now, a handful of different shows. Some have been good, some have been Inhumans. I got an episode into that, and I quit. I'm not looking forward to us having to watch that.
Yeah, when you couldn't even get through more than that, I didn't even try.
Yeah.
Like, if Justin can't find the good in that somewhere, what am I going to find?
God, it was rough.
Maybe being so naive about it would be helpful, but I don't know. I think it's just looks terrible.
Yeah, and it was. But it's on Disney Plus for when we have to watch it. But they've done all of these movies, all of these shows, and they barely scratched the surface of how many different characters and stories they can cover.
Right.
And now that they have Fox and they have the X-Men and the Fantastic Four, just the limitless possibilities they have access to now.
Yeah,
I mean, we're getting Armor Wars and Ironheart and Moon Knight with Oscar Isaac and like all this crazy shit going on.
It's insane. It makes you kind of wonder, like, how can they do everything? Like, there is so much they can do. How can they do it all?
Yeah. And I've heard rumblings. I mean, they have it planned out till like 2029 at least, and that's just as of now.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
Like, we have to make it that long?
We'll be long dead by the time the MCU is over.
Yeah.
But I love getting back into the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So the original plan was to start in Vegas. And, the scenes after he's held captive, that's where the movie was originally supposed to start. And it was Favreau's idea to show the convoy getting attacked and him being tortured and put on camera before then.
Yeah.
And I think it is the best decision Marvel may have ever made.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it gets you like it just you're there so quick. Like you're already in the action. There's not an intro like here's everyone. Look at this person. Look at this. It's just you're right into it, and it's so exciting from the get go. Like Tony's got that charisma about him.
Well, and he's such an asshole all of the time. Like everything leading up from Vegas to when he goes over there, he's such a jerk. And he's, smoozing Christine Everhart and, Pepper, boots her ass out as soon as she wakes up and all this stuff. He's just such a jerk that Favreau, if I remember right, was kind of afraid that people would disconnect with him by the time he was attacked.
Right.
And would stop caring.
They'd almost think good.
Yeah.
He deserves it.
Right. Whereas in this case, you know what's coming. And you have that kind of almost dread of like, oh, this guy, he's living the high life and he's about to get his world rocked by a freaking missile to the chest. Like
his own.
Yeah. With his name on it, literally.
Yes, literally. This one has his name on it.
It's such a great scene. We're going to try our best not to go shot for shot, scene for scene in these movies, because otherwise we'd be here for hours. And it defeats the purpose of, doing this, because for me, it's like I want to rouse people's excitement for these movies to get them to go watch them.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
A mistake that, I've made in the past on other shows is talking so much about each individual scene. There's really not much point. So we're going to skip around quite a bit and only cover specific things. And Jeremy, if you have something that you want to chime in, feel free to, cut me off and whatever.
Okay.
But the next thing I have is him escaping the cave.
Yeah.
And the process of that.
Yeah, like I mentioned it early on that, with him working, Jensen is pretty much the reason we have Tony still around. He's a great surgeon. Do we ever find out why he's captured or where he's captured or anything like that?
I would assume it was he lived in the area and the terrorists, kind of absconded his town like they did when Tony showed up with the Mark III and that other group of people. Yeah.
And they probably either knew he was some sort of smart man, scientist, doctor, surgeon kind of thing.
Yeah.
And probably kept him around for that reason.
Yeah.
And they once they got Tony and they needed a surgeon, he's right there. So that's probably what happened there.
Yeah.
So we're kind of answering my question as we go. I like that. Very good.
I'm glad you can help yourself out. It really makes my job easier.
Well, I think you helped a little bit. You kind of got the ball rolling. Yeah. And I'm glad he didn't agree right away. Also, Tony was no, I'm not going to do it until they had to convince him to do it. But then even after that, even after that, he still didn't. He figured out a quick way to do it because he's so smart. And they kind of touch on that during the movie, but how brilliant he is. But I like that the way that they made it look like he was working on what they wanted, but he's really just getting finding his way out.
Yeah. And that's like, there's never a point in time, I didn't really think about it till now, but there's never a point in time where he's actually legitimately working on the missile.
No.
Like at all. The first thing he does is fix the thing in his chest so he's not attached to a car battery the whole time.
Yeah.
And he, develops the arc reactor and
that reminds me, I wanted to back it up while I was watching it, but was the battery a Die-Hard battery?
I don't know.
I think it was, and that's fitting. It's like, it's Die Hard. Hard to die.
Yeah,
so,
obviously.
Well done. I'm sure it was. If not, if you're going to pick a battery, don't go back and look. And if you do, don't tell us. Yeah, we've made our minds up.
Yes, it is a Die Hard battery because he died hard.
Yes.
He's the title character. He died hard. That's how I met your mother joke. But Like going back to when I first saw the trailer, I remember seeing the Mark
Yeah.
1 in the footage and going, this looks so corny and dumb.
Right.
Like I knew a little bit about Iron Man and the evolution of the suits, but I wasn't, nearly as familiar as I am now.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember seeing that and going, God, that looks so clunky and dumb. And what are they
Right.
doing making this movie? This is
Yeah.
Spider-Man. What are they thinking? And watching it last night, I was like, this is the coolest scene of the movie. One of the coolest scenes.
Okay. Yeah. Why the change? What changed?
I
Because it's
think,
still big and clunky.
yeah, but I think seeing it in action, seeing it in
Mm-hmm.
context, being immediately submerged into this world, and just, I bought into it immediately.
Okay.
Again, that
Yeah.
opening scene with him getting attacked just immediately sold me. And when the Iron Man, I'm not going to be able to do the clanking noise with my mouth, but when that hit, I was just like, okay, you win. Like, I get it. I was
Right.
wrong. I admit it. Let's move forward. And by that time, I was like, he is just kicking ass. And it's such a cool scene. I was thinking about it last night. Like, it's almost horror-esque, to tie it into Pod and Gore, when
Mm-hmm.
before they first reveal the suit,
Yeah.
it's dark and he's attacking the guys, but you don't see them, and they're flying across the room and dying. And then you get that reveal, and it's almost like a Frankenstein's monster kind of reveal of this monster suit.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, because they don't show him right away. Yeah, they
Mm-mm.
he hits one guy and then another, and yeah, it's kind of slowly revealed.
Mm-hmm. And then you get
Kind of
that
shows you the power first.
and you get the cool wrap around. I'm gonna do a lot of sound effects, I think, in this
I,
show.
it brought me back to it. I felt like I was watching the movie again. I was looking around.
Iron Man?
Turn that down.
But it's just awesome. I mean, and it provides enough protection for him to get out. They're shooting at him. One guy even gets lucky enough to shoot one of the lever things on his knee, and it drops him.
Yeah, I I'm not positive. I'm actually trying to look it up right now. But isn't the mask kind of a kind of a throwback to the original comic kind of look?
Oh yeah,
Or am I
definitely.
okay?
The original comic look is a lot more sleek. I mean, they didn't do
Right.
that detailed artwork back in the 60s.
Right.
But, the full silver, sleek, very toned down. I mean, and that's the suit he's wearing in the first issue of Avengers. I think by then
Okay.
it's painted gold, but that's the suit that he's wearing even by the time we get in the comics to Avengers.
Right.
So,
I like that little nod too.
mm-hmm.
So very cool. But yeah, you're right. It was just big and clunky and
Yeah.
just kind of pieced together. And
Well, and it's one of the cool things about a lot of these Marvel movies is seeing the evolution of the suits. Like when we do Cap, I can't wait to do Cap. If you've never listened to me talk for more than 10 seconds, I'll tell you right now, my favorite character is Captain America. I've got a
Yeah.
tattoo. Maybe I'll show you guys someday. It's on my arm. Don't worry. No,
Yeah,
nothing gross.
I was gonna say, just the way you worded that whole
I
sentence.
know. That's why I threw that in there. I heard
If you
it as
didn't,
I
I was
said
gonna.
it. It was wrong.
Perfect.
But yeah, Captain America is my boy. Like I love his movies. I
Yeah.
love Chris Evans. It's all good times. I'm gonna gush so much when I cover that movie. I just can't even handle it right now.
I'm ready for it. We'll get there though. But
Yeah.
Iron Man for now.
Yeah.
But one thing I did want to say was it's another cool thing, and this kind of goes back to what Jon Favreau said was he's kind of rebuilding himself, which that's what he did with the suit. He took his old weapons and rockets and all that kind of stuff, and like a phoenix, kind of rebuilt from those ashes
Mm-hmm.
this Iron Man, and wait for him to get out, so that he can then go home and change
Yeah.
the way he's been and the way his company's been.
Yeah. I mean,
That's-
even the
that's
arc
kinda
reactor
cool.
that he makes for himself, the palladium, is from the warheads. They
Yeah.
dismantled the warheads to get the palladium out of them. so that he could create the arc reactor to keep himself alive.
Yeah, so cool. Yeah, I like it. It's just such a well done movie for it being the first one.
That's the thing. I think at other times during this show, future episodes, I'm sure I will find ways to rag on other companies who have tried to do this and have not done it yet. Even after 13 years of perfect example. I mean, and not just the one. There are several who have tried to make an expanded universe and cannot figure out how to do it. Yeah. And this actually leads really well into our next topic. But the groundwork is just so perfectly laid there. And things are just set in motion to interweave everything. And my favorite thing that they did was using Agent Coulson and S.H.I.E.L.D.
Okay, yeah.
Because it gave every character a reason to eventually know each other and meet.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, it's that perfect through line of Coulson's in Iron Man. Then you see name drops of Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D. in Hulk. Obviously, Coulson and Fury show up in Iron Man 2. Coulson's back in Thor. And then at the end of Cap 1, you get that Fury tie-in. And S.H.I.E.L.D. is the one that found him in the first place.
Yeah.
And they form the Avengers.
You're right. That is, yeah, instead of trying to put them all together and then having to come up with a reason for them to come together.
Yeah.
It's already built in. You're right.
And then even when they fall in Winter Soldier, them kind of cleaning up that mess, because it's kind of their duty, brings them back together for Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
And it's not like Marvel Studios came up with this. This is a storyline from a comic called The Ultimates.
Okay.
Which, if you've never read it, you really should. It's super cool. And a lot of the MCU is ripped from The Ultimates, especially the first volume. But it works. It's that perfect little subtle thing that helps tie all of these characters together in some way. And I mean, the Thor one is a little shoehorned in, I guess.
Right.
But it still works.
Yeah. And I was even thinking, I think it was earlier today, where, everyone's kind of got all the Avengers have their own movie kind of a thing. And I was thinking, well, not Hawkeye, but I was trying to think how'd they bring him in, but they brought him in Thor.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't feel forced in or anything like that. Nothing that no characters that they bring in ever feel forced in.
Yeah.
Like, this person just showed up out of nowhere. Like, what, they see an advertisement for Superheroes Wanted and showed up?
The only one that I still kind of go, was Spider-Man.
Fair.
And a lot of that has to do with the fact that they didn't know if they were actually going to get him or not. Like, I think there were two versions of the movie, one where he was in it and one where he wasn't, because they weren't sure they were going to reach a deal with Sony.
Right. But that makes sense. If they had him for longer, they probably would have just been able to weave him in some way.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it's Spider-Man. He's like, him and Wolverine are the two most profitable characters Marvel owns.
Is it really? Wolverine's the next one.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Iron Man's probably up there now, but especially back in the day, that's
nice.
Yeah, but everyone else, I mean, they find ways, even going into WandaVision, which comes out mere hours from now. Monica Rambeau's going to be in it. Spoilers.
Oh. If
you don't know that, I don't know how you don't know that, but
I didn't know that because whenever a trailer or anything comes up, I keep scrolling. I'm gonna watch it. All right.
You spoilers for Jeremy.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I don't feel like that's gonna be a huge spoiler.
But I mean, okay. I mean, you know who's in Hawkeye, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bringing in Kate Bishop. They're going to find a way to just seamlessly say this person is in this universe now.
Right. Yeah.
And then they'll be in their own movies. And if we don't get an announcement of a Young Avengers movie in the next 5 years, I'll be shocked.
Okay. I'm going to write that down.
I would say, I would even bargain the way they're pumping out stuff, I would say within the next 2 years we'll get an announcement that we'll get a Young Avengers something.
Okay. I hope we do. I mean, I that would be very cool. And it's not like, you know, they're struggling to get a younger generation into these movies, but that would just be so much more powerful.
Yeah. Well, it's just the logical next step, and it's the way to keep it going. And I mean, they're doing Ironheart, they're doing Ms. Marvel, Kate Bishop, Monica Rambeau. I mean, they're already peppering in characters, and there's even more rumors for what could be coming in WandaVision that, like, I would be amazed if it's not coming.
All right. Well, we'll keep you updated for sure.
Oh, yeah. Sam developing the Mark 2 and 3 is my next thing.
Yes.
I love seeing him test out all of the different... I couldn't come up with the right word then. I can't think of it now. But all the different functions. Like testing out the boot to make sure it opened and closed correctly.
Yeah.
The repulsors that sent him flying across the room.
Yeah. I guess hand cannons. I know they're more like stabilizers is what his original intention was, but that was pretty cool. And it was nice, you know, rewatching it and noticing how kind of slow the buildup is of it, and how kind of slow he is with it, because he's just starting out. And it's cool now seeing, you know, how quick he is. And it's just so automatic because he's been doing it for so long.
Yeah. Now he has a nano suit, and it just taps a button and it grows around him.
Yeah, that was cool. That's fun to see that too. It's like, oh, it's gonna get so much better than that. Like it's not clunky, but you know, versus nanotech, it's clunky.
Yeah,
well, but it still looks great.
Oh yeah, the visuals of it are just amazing. I mean, I remember because 2007, the first Transformers movie came out, and love or hate that franchise, and I'm somewhere in the middle. That first movie visually is pretty spectacular. All the little parts and things that are moving to make Optimus go, and seeing that kind of thing used for Iron Man, and all the rivets and the things coming together is just amazing.
It is. It's so cool. And just all the technology he's able to fit into such a sleeker, smoother look is very cool.
Yeah. And this is the only time I think in the production of these movies where he actually wears a full-on suit. All the other movies, he wears like the chest and helmet, and it's motion capture.
Yeah.
I think even by Iron Man 2, it was a lot of motion capture, and he just wore, you know, the bare essentials.
Okay. And the idea to kind of show his inside the helmet.
Yeah, the HUD.
I think that was
heads up display.
It's just that's such a good idea because it's not just from outside and you see him and you hear his voice. It's you see him inside of the suit and him talking and reacting and doing this and that. It was a great idea to include that.
Well, yeah, it's one of those things that is always kind of troubling with characters, especially when they have a full face mask. Like even the old Spider-Man movies, for me, there was like the Tobey Maguire era. There was always this disconnect for me when he puts on the suit that it's like it doesn't feel like it's the same person.
Right, yeah.
Because you can't connect because you just have this blank slate and these sunglass eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, the HUD was just a brilliant way to show his reactions, his face is so expressive, and how excited he gets or how angry he gets at whatever.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
And scared and everything, and you can then see, you know, how worried he is that he is in trouble. And not just have to kind of assume it and not see it in his face. And I think that was just such a great idea.
Well, it's one of the things that got me so excited when they did Spider-Man and his eyes moved.
Oh, yeah.
It's something,
that expression.
It's a subtle thing that they did in the comics that they've never done in the movies. And you get that just little bit of expression in the eyes, and it just sells you that much more that it's Peter Parker under that mask. It's Tony under that helmet.
Right. Yeah.
But the attack on Gulmira is the coolest freaking scene in Iron Man. Maybe one of the coolest scenes in the MCU.
Really? Okay, I don't know if it's that big.
It's so cool.
It's very cool, but there's a lot of cool scenes.
Well, I know, but I mean, as far as... Like, again, at the time, we had never seen anything like it before.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And, we didn't know what all an Iron Man was or what all he could do. And that first 5 seconds after he lands and he sizes up everybody and targets them with his computer and sends out the individual bullets to shoot them all. Yeah. Oh, it's fucking very cool.
Yeah, just like it's so simple for him and it's so smooth.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's almost like it's Tony, being smooth, but he's kind of the good guy now.
Yeah,
he's not just out for himself. But yeah, it is. It's very cool. Even the landing's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
It is the superhero landing.
Yeah, I mean,
it was still cool.
Yeah, well, I mean, like he was the one who made it cool. I mean,
yeah,
and popularized it to the point where everybody did it. Yeah. I mean, Spider-Man had one, kind of, but I think he's the only one who really ever did the superhero landing.
And kind of looking at it now, it's like you don't need to land like that in your suit, but it looks cool.
Yeah,
it looks much cooler than just plump on 2 feet. And even him getting shot out of the sky and getting back up and just shooting that little rocket and just the damage it does, it's like, man, he is so powerful.
Yeah,
it's so cool.
And it's something that I think is a little less impactful in the sequels, is just how well equipped that suit is. And just how much it can take a beating. I mean, you kind of take it for granted now, all the things that he goes through. But like in that scene, he gets thumped. And that suit, I mean, it has bullet holes by the end of it, but he's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool.
And it almost looks video gamey, but it's sleek and cool. So it also has that real, I love that scene so much.
It's a great scene.
Wow.
All right, I'll jump in here, and the next note that we have here is Obadiah Stane in the Ironmonger fight. And you said here that there's a deleted scene of Obadiah saying goodbye before the fall?
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's something
I've never known that.
Yeah, it's something worth watching, and if you have the discs, watch it. Because, and it's my really only complaint about the Iron Man movies, and I think there's one in Iron Man 2 as well, is that the villains die so unceremoniously. And especially in the first Iron Man with Jeff Bridges, the way they edit it, it makes it look like the arc reactor explodes, he's electrocuted, and that kills him and makes him fall and cause the explosion. But that's not what happened.
Tell me more.
He's shocked and collapses and has this... I haven't watched it in several years, so I'm not even going to try and quote it, but he has this sort of last-minute explanation of why he was doing what he was doing and his kind of thought process behind everything.
Oh, okay.
And then the thing that he was landed on after he collapsed gave way.
Yeah.
And that's... So it's the fall and explosion that killed him. It wasn't the initial explosion with all the electricity.
I mean, that sounds cooler and better.
Why, it is better.
Is there a okay,
sorry. It is. No, it is. I mean, it gives you that last minute give a shit about his character. Otherwise, it just feels so hollow and kind of like he went crazy for no reason.
Do they explain for any reason why that scene was taken out? Was it a time thing?
Was it?
Okay.
And I don't think I've listened to the commentary on it, but I would imagine it was just time, and they didn't feel it necessary, but I think it was. It is definitely something that was missing.
Yeah. It sounds good. Like, you're right. It is nice when, I know this is because you're a huge fan of villains, but it is nice when you hear the villain side of the thing. And I know this was more of a Tony, kind of arc for him to become a good guy again.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter why the bad guy was a bad guy, just as long as Tony's the good guy.
Yeah, and
But
we were
it is nice to
definitely
hear.
we were definitely still in that era of superhero movies. I mean, we were a year past Spider-Man 3, you know,
Yeah.
where it wasn't as deep and interesting as it is now. I mean, by this time, The Dark Knight technically hadn't come out yet.
Okay.
Because this was May of 2008, and Dark Knight was 2 months later in July.
Okay.
So, I mean, this is still kind of that old world philosophy of comic book movies where they're just fun. And thankfully, and it's the thing that I think has made me love Marvel Studios so much, is that they've learned from their mistakes.
Yeah.
And you get scenes like the ending of Black Panther with Killmonger looking at the sunset in Wakanda, which is amazing. You get that scene with Zemo and Black Panther at the end of Civil War, which is amazing. And I mean, even they've learned with Loki. You know, they've immediately gave you a villain that you care about and is now getting his own damn show. Like, when does that happen?
Yeah, I know, right? Like, what other villain are we going to be like, yeah, cool, show about him?
You want the Ulysses Claw show, don't get me.
I wouldn't say no to it, but I definitely would like I would take a Killmonger one, because, I mean, you can probably, you can't tell. Never mind, you can't see it. You can tell.
I can see it. And I was there when you bought it.
This is true. Yeah, I have a Killmonger drawing poster kind of thing on my wall. He's one of my favorite villains.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I'd take a Killmonger show.
A prequel show?
A prequel or hey, I was wrong about the way I was going at things. I'm gonna be a good guy now. Gooder guy. Not a super good, but still.
He did survive the sword in the stomach, and now he's reformed.
Yeah. Black Panther was like, "Oh, do you want to eat this? It'll help you heal." Like, yeah.
Okay,
thanks, man.
that sounds delicious.
Yeah.
Good fiber.
Yeah, it's a deleted scene. You'll see it later on.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the fight between Iron Man and Ironmonger is fantastic, and pulling the info of, how'd you solve the icing problem? And
yeah, I was going to say, like, I like that scene where he kind of thought, like, okay, I can't just beat him by trying to punch him.
Yeah.
Where did I fail? And it was, I went too high and didn't know about the ice. So I'm sure he also didn't.
He wouldn't have figured that out by now, because he would have heard of a giant robot going up into the sky.
Yeah. And falling out. Yeah.
Killing thousands of people on impact.
Yeah. So that I do like that he kind of went back on what did I learn, and how can I use this against you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else on the fight before we do our last couple things here?
Not really. I mean, it was a decent fight. It wasn't long, quick. Which, yeah, it wasn't on the long side, but I think it still worked out. I liked it.
Yeah. I mean, it breaks the mold of they have an initial fight, and then the hero regroups, and then they have another fight, but they've learned a little bit more, and then they have the final fight, and they win. Like, they really just fight once, and he has to figure out on the fly how to figure this out.
Yeah.
And that's really, I mean, even Iron Man 2, he fought with Vanko at the racetrack.
True.
And he won, but just barely. And then,
yeah,
didn't fight him again until the end.
Yeah. All right. Good point.
Thank you.
But no, that's all I got about the fight. It was I could have used some more of it.
Yeah. Especially for as cool as the Ironmonger suit was. It would have been nice to see it more.
Yeah.
So, last thing I have before we go into some fun facts and Easter eggs is the fact that they went with no secret identities in the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of changed with Spider-Man and a couple others here and there now.
Right.
But in the comics, and they make a joke about it in the movie, Iron Man was supposedly Tony Stark's bodyguard.
Yeah.
And they completely did away with that and just said, I am Iron Man, deal with it. And that was a great ending.
Yeah. And it is. That is the ending. It just goes right into credits, and I love it. It's so cool. Just and it makes sense for him too. He's just so cocky. He wants that spotlight. Like, no, I am Iron Man. Not I made Iron Man or someone else is doing. I am Iron Man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even when he's talking with Christine and kind of fumbles over himself, he's like, I don't want to insinuate that I'm some kind of superhero. It's like, where did you pull that from? I didn't say anything about you being a superhero.
Yeah.
Like,
nobody said anything. I
just didn't believe that it was a dude in a suit. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so freaking good.
It is. I'm glad I rewatched it.
Definitely.
Because I went back and remembered scenes and stuff like that, but it's the smaller stuff that just is fun to remember.
Mm-hmm. Well, and watching it so many times, you kind of look in the background and notice different things. I don't know
like
if I
the
have
battery
it
that says Die Hard.
Yeah, right. Probably.
Yes.
So we can't talk about a Marvel movie without talking about the stinger. And this one has the classic quintessential stinger to end all stingers.
Yeah.
The reason I saw this movie 8 times in theaters was for this scene right here. And what's funny is I had read Ultimates before watching the movie. And so I knew about the whole S.H.I.E.L.D. creating the Avengers thing, but I didn't really put together Strategic Homeland Intervention Enforcement and Logistics Division being S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right.
And the idea of Sam Jackson having a cameo in the movie, which I had read online.
Okay.
I didn't, for some dumb reason, put all of those pieces together until Coulson said, just call us S.H.I.E.L.D.
And then it clicked for you.
And then it clicked, and I went, oh my god, I cannot wait to see what happens at the end of this movie.
Yeah, because even I when I was watching it again, and I heard him saying it, and I'm like, each letter spells S.H.I.E.L.D., and it's like, well, how could they not have thought of that already? Why would they keep going with the long name? And it's because they wanted to slowly bring it in for people like you.
Mm-hmm. Who are too dumb, but smart enough to get it at the end.
Yeah. So that when he finally says it, you're like,
S.H.I.E.L.D.
That's what it is the whole time.
Mm-hmm. And just Samuel Jackson coming out and, you think you're the only superhero in the world. I'm here to talk to you about the Avenger Initiative. And my brain exploded.
Yeah.
Like,
we're getting more of this.
Yeah.
And
they're all connected and coming together. It's what we always hoped and dreamed of watching these movies growing up. I mean, you and I grew up in the Keaton-Kilmer Batman era.
Mm-hmm.
And they'd make references to Superman and stuff, and you'd go, oh man, wouldn't it be cool if one day they got together? But it never happened.
Right.
This was the first promise of there are more of these characters in other movies, and they're all going to come together.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so freaking
I was just thinking when you said it, that's the reason I went back and watched it 8 times. It's like that would have been online already, and you could have just rewatched it 8 times and saved so much money.
Yeah, I watched it online too.
Fair enough. But yeah, it is so cool, and that was the beginning of these stingers that they're what every movie, well, not every now, but for just about every movie, you knew there was something.
Mm-hmm. They've done one in every movie. I think the only one they didn't technically was Captain America: The First Avenger. But
Endgame.
Endgame?
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Okay, fine. And Endgame.
That was the one I was thinking of.
Mm.
What about was there one in Infinity War?
Yeah, it was with Fury and Hill, and he pushes the pager. And
that's right.
Brings us Captain Marvel.
That's right.
All right. Let's go into some fun facts and Easter eggs. You and I can trade off here, so I'm not just prattling on like before. But I'll get us started.
All right.
In order to build the general public's awareness of Iron Man and elevate him to the same level of popularity as Spider-Man or Hulk, Marvel conducted focus groups trying to find a way to remove the general perception that the character is a robot. The information Marvel received from the focus group was used to formulate an awareness-building plan, which included releasing 3 animated short films ahead of the film's release. The shorts were called Iron Man Advertorials and were produced by Tim Miller and Blur Studios.
I don't think I ever watched those.
Yeah, I don't even know what those are.
Okay.
We're going to have to... The first thing that I don't know.
Yeah, right? Okay, because, I never assumed he was a robot, so I was like, well, did these focus groups work? Because I didn't think it was just a robot. So, success?
Yes,
or what?
Obviously.
I guess they did, yeah. That is interesting. That's a fun fact.
Yeah, thank you. I thought it was too.
All right, Agent Phil Coulson, played by Clark Gregg, was originally a much smaller part. In fact, the character at first was only called Agent. But as filming went on and Gregg's chemistry with all the other cast members became apparent, they added more and more scenes. And I like it. I like Clark Gregg. He's a fun actor.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that he just kept butting people, and he was just so calm about it. Like, hi, I'm here to talk. We have a meeting.
Yeah.
I'd like to talk to you about this.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to be debriefed. I'm so polite. It was fun. It was a fun character.
Yeah. And as time went on, he got a little more edgy, and he got so popular, he got his own show even after he died. Like, he turned a cameo into a career.
Yeah. And that sounds weird for anyone that doesn't, know about it. I don't know who doesn't know about it nowadays, but just...
Spoilers.
He died, and he still got his own show.
Yeah.
What?
We'll get there. It'll be a couple years, but we'll get there. To avoid spoilers about the final press conference, the extras were told that it was a dream sequence.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a huge deal if it leaked, but yeah. Roughly 450 separate pieces make up the Iron Man suit.
That's insane.
That's big and clunky.
Mm-hmm.
How many pieces make up his new suit? Nanotech.
The Mark 30 something or other?
Yeah.
18,053,053.
Okay, thank you.
Paul Bettany recorded all of his lines as Jarvis in 2 hours.
Impressive.
Well, I mean, he has 10 lines.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's not a lot of lines, but still.
Yeah.
I mean, because you know how they are. All right, let's do it again with a little more inflection. All right, let's do it again where you emphasize more on this word.
Yeah.
Jon Favreau, the director of this movie, celebrated getting the job as director by going on a diet and losing 70 pounds.
And it was kind of like a motivation for him to be able to play happy.
Nice.
Yeah. And he looks great.
Yeah. He does, yeah. I think he slims down even more as it goes, but yeah, I like it.
Mm-hmm. This is the last film special effects expert Stan Winston completed before his death.
I mean, it's a great send-off, you know?
I mean, talk about ending on a high note.
Yeah, seriously. Everything looks just so real. There's nothing really in there that I'm like, nah.
Yeah.
I don't believe that.
Mm-mm. If anything,
except for the phone he uses.
Yeah.
It's like, that's
from
terrible.
Verizon.
Right.
All right, some Easter eggs. Special segment just for this because it is a comic book movie. There are tons of fun Easter eggs and nods to different characters and comic books.
Yeah.
Stan Lee can be seen outside the charity ball dressed as Hugh Hefner. Tony Stark even calls him Hef as he walks past Stan and into the building. The first of many Stan Lee cameos in the MCU.
Yeah, I like it. Tony Stark's computer system is called Jarvis, which stands for Just a Rather Very Intelligent System. This is a tribute to Edwin Jarvis, Howard Stark's butler. He was changed to an artificial intelligence to avoid comparisons to Bruce Wayne's butler, Alfred Pennyworth. In the limited comic Iron Man 2 Public Identity, the comic book prequel to Iron Man 2, it is revealed that Tony named the computer system after him following his death.
And Jarvis is I don't remember who plays him, but he actually shows up in Agent Carter as an actual character, and then he's in Endgame.
Yes, same actor, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that.
James Rhodes
all
is... Huh?
together. It's all just together.
They're so good.
It is.
James Rhodes' cell phone ringtone is the theme song to the animated Iron Man cartoon from 1966.
I wasn't sure of that, but I knew it had to be because
it was too much of a tune.
Yes, and they focus on it for too long, and yeah. A 3D wireframe model of the War Machine armor can briefly be seen during the credits sequence before the full cast and crew list rolls. Yeah, I didn't know that. Kind of wish I would have known that before I watched it. I would have paid attention more.
Now you got to watch it again. During the Ironmonger Iron Man fight scene in the third act of the film, there is a clear shot of the Roxxon logo on a warehouse in the background. In the comics, the Roxxon Corps is responsible for the deaths of Howard and Maria Stark, Tony's parents. So that answers that question. He was dead.
Yes.
And Roxxon is brought back in Daredevil when they do the flashback of Matt and Foggy in their old firm. They're meeting with Roxxon.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah.
When Tony is flying through Los Angeles, there is a giant film poster featuring the mythical dragon Fin Fang Foom.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that one either.
Mm-hmm.
I have to go back and watch it 2 more times.
Christine Everhart, the reporter who confronts Tony early in the film, is a reporter for Vanity Fair. However, her comic book counterpart actually works for the Daily Bugle. But they couldn't use Daily Bugle, especially back then, because Spider-Man and Sony.
Yeah, fair enough.
Bastards.
All right, last one we got here. During the scene where Pepper Potts is searching through a secret shipping manifest drawn up for Obadiah Stane, the manifest features an outline of some weapons Stane is selling and shipping on the black market using a vessel dubbed the MSC Lebowski.
And that's awesome.
That is cool. I like that little nod
to
the dude, and I kind of it just right now made me think that when he comes in and kind of catches Pepper, he's drinking, I don't know, some sort of bourbon scotch kind of thing. I wish he would have made himself a White Russian. Would have been great.
That would have been
just stirred it with his finger and everything. Just look at the camera, a little wink, and maybe that's too much, but I would have loved it.
That would have been great. All right, that is it for our coverage of the first Iron Man movie. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did.
Absolutely.
For first episode, I'd say it was fairly glitch-free.
Yeah. Jumped right back in, and
it's like we never
stopped.
I never did stop, so it's like you never stopped.
Yeah. I was just doing this by myself as I was going, just so I could, be ready for this day. No, but I am glad that we're doing this again. I'm very excited to keep going, and we do thank you guys for listening.
Do you want to tell all the kids at home what the next episode will be? Do you remember what your next episode's going to be? I talked about it the other day.
Yeah, I think it's I think it's coming to me now. I was drawing a big blank at first. I'll tell you what. We are going to rank our favorite Phase 1 trailers.
Yes,
that's the word. So we thought about doing all of the trailers, but we thought that'd be too many. They've made a lot of movies. So we're just going to focus on Phase 1, and we'll kind of rank those. And so if you want to let us know what your favorites are, reach out to us.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how yet as far as the first episode. We don't have anything set up.
Yeah. But by the time this drops, everything will be set up.
Yeah. So there'll be links in the description below. Yeah. Again, like you said, thank you for listening. This has been We Are Marvel.
And I've been Justin.
I've been Jeremy.
We will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.